Hello fun people, I'm Isaac Carlson, your guide through the wonderful world of Disney, and today I want to theorize around whether or not Luca and Alberto are actually monsters. And when I say monsters, I mean, are they like the monsters from Monsters, Inc? And of course, spoilers are ahead, and consider subscribing for more magical discussions. Now, truly what I think is fascinating about the whole idea of the sea monsters from Luca being connected to the monsters from Monsters, Inc is that it feels like such a natural evolution of the creatures. From what we can tell, Luca's species was able to have a massive advantage in the world because they had the intelligence of humans, but also had the ability for their bodies to conform and emulate mankind when they were out of the water.
Been to the surface and done the change?
Truly, Luca and Alberto's species is way superior to humans because they can thrive as well as us on land and exist perfectly under the water. I mean, look at Luca. He of course swims like a bullet in water, something I would have really appreciated when I was in swim team, but then is able to quickly learn how to walk, run, and ride a bike in a matter of hours to the point where he becomes the fastest kid in Porto Rosso. Sea monsters are just built different, but it doesn't stop there. It seems from the appearance of Uncle Ugo that the sea monsters are just extremely capable of evolving in any environment they come across, even if that made them extremely grotesque and gave them a craving for whale carcass. Even though Ugo and Luca's father, Lorenzo, are presumably the same species, Ugo's time in the dark, cold depths of the sea altered the translucency of his body, had led to a glowing orb on his head like the dangerous fish Dory and Marlin met in Finding Nemo, and he truly got accustomed to breathing the oxygen-depleted water.
Too much oxygen up here, not like the deep, as you'll learn.
What this means to me is that Luca and Alberto's integration into the world could be the catalyst for an explosion of different kinds of monsters that would eventually dominate the world. Continuing the belief in the Pixar theory that the monster world takes place in a far distant future, I think there's a really interesting way to integrate the sea monsters into the rise of the monster world. You see, originally we were led to believe that the humans that returned to the radioactive, polluted, and dangerous planet Wall-E became the monsters that would build Monstropolis and eventually Monsters Incorporated.
You know, rising toxicity levels have made life unsustainable on Earth.
Unsustainable?
But maybe that was only able to happen because there were a few humans who descended from Luca, or other members of Luca's species. You see, during the credits of Luca, we find out that Luca goes to school and openly shows to Julia's mother, his classmates, and his teachers that he came from the ocean and has abilities that they had never seen before. And maybe the sea monsters were close enough to mankind, which would allow Luca and the rest of his kind to live out their days on land and create families. Even though we know there were many sea monsters who traveled onto the surface, if Luca and Alberto's open acceptance on land spread outside of Porto Rosso, maybe many more sea monsters would enter the world and have families with humans, meaning that by the time the world became uninhabitable, many decades in the future, there would be a variety of people across Earth who had the genetics to allow them to become highly adaptable individuals. I mean, just think back to the captain of the Axiom. He might have never walked a day in his life, similarly to Luca, but when he was ready to bring humans back to Earth, he stood up, carried his body, and walked. And that event actually happened a lot across the ship. As soon as these sedentary people were removed from their chairs, they stood up as if they had been doing it all of their lives, or as if they had an intuitive ability to summon strength and change when they needed to. Of course, when the Axiom and the other B&L Star Cruisers blasted off, the planet was probably just too far gone at the time for any complex life form to survive, regardless of whether you were part sea monster or not. And throughout their journey in space, there would have been no reason to evolve into any other kind of monster because their lives were handled by luxurious robots. I mean, I would have found it difficult to get out of my chair if I was constantly being fed sour gummy worms and new Marvel shows, but by the time mankind returned, I think the conditions would have been perfect for an explosion of diversity across Earth. With very few species existing on the planet, suddenly the hyper-adaptable genes in the sea monster human hybrids would have given them the chance to grow to massive sizes, to gain extra limbs, to add or lose a few eyes, and to develop scales, spikes, and hair across their bodies. Under the cruel conditions that planet Earth was under, mankind could have changed in any way that was beneficial to them at an extremely fast pace. And one of the powers that we of course see the sea monsters use that has continued to exist in a more advanced way even to the time of the monsters is the ability for some of them to change appearances. Sure, some monsters no longer have the ability to change their physical appearance at all even when they are exposed to water, but monsters like Randall Boggs can now alter their skin to blend into their surroundings on command, making them practically invisible, which to me seems like a powerful new evolution of the disguise that Luca and Alberto had when they were growing up. But an even more important ability persisted from sea monster to monster that I think ties this whole theory together so well. In Monsters University, we were shown that they had a school of aquatics, meaning that many, if not all of the monsters can breathe underwater. And all of this means that Luca's determination to live out of the sea may have not only been the action that eventually saved mankind, but it also allowed the transition of the sea monsters and humans to evolve into monsters. Fun people, let me know if you think Luca and Alberto were the reason the monster world arose in the comments or over on my Discord, which you can gain access to by joining our community over on Patreon. And again, make sure to subscribe for more magical discussions. Finally, I hope you have a magical day.